85% of the jobs that exist today will not exist by 2030. So what can we do to prepare young children for a world of constant change? I've been surrounded by innovators my entire career. And let me tell you what I've learned about them. To start with, they're curious and they ask lots of questions. They're problem solvers and collaborators, and they're risk takers, and they're not afraid of failing. And they all have one thing in common. They're all under 5 years old. Early in my career, I left a job in corporate America to start a career in early childhood education. And during those first years, I immersed myself in every aspect of the operation. During those years, I drove the bus, I changed lots of diapers, and I taught preschoolers. And what struck me the most about preschoolers was learning that they have all the skills they need to be successful in the future. And that got me thinking, if all children are born innovators, what can we do to preserve that creative confidence of the early years and turn young children into the fearless problem solvers of tomorrow? 90% of a child's brain develops by the time they're 5 years old. And during those early years, neurons in different parts of the brain are establishing connections. Language is developing, and we're laying the foundation for all future learning. As caregivers, we play an important role in shaping the architecture of a child's brain. And we can either nurture those abilities or let them fade away. Later in my career, I became a preschool director. And I remember one time a young teacher stepped into my office. She was concerned. Some of her students were behind in some of the school readiness scores, so I offered to help. The day of the observation arrived, and I remember how she started her lesson perfectly planned. The problem was that her students had a completely different agenda. To start with, she asked every student to sit very quietly and listen. But then one of them started running around, another one followed, and just a few minutes later, half of the class was doing the same, and just a few of them were paying attention. And I remember sitting in the back of the room, now as an administrator, thinking, wow, I empathize with this teacher, because yes, teaching preschoolers can be very intimidating, because they know if you're authentic. They also smell confidence, and they're testing you. They want to know if you have what it takes to stay in control, to then take control of the class. Over the years, I worked with hundreds of childcare professionals. Based on these experiences and the study of research, we've identified strategies of the best performers. And to our surprise, it was not the level of education or the years of experience, but their ability to self-regulate, self-awareness, and also their commitment to implementing these strategies. Okay, so before I share with you the strategies, I have one question for you. What skills would you like your child to develop? Notice that the first thing that did not pop into your mind was, oh, I want my child to have math skills or literacy skills or now STEM skills. Most likely, you thought of skills such as problem solving or creativity. And this is the reason. 20% of how we do in life has to do with our cognitive intelligence, our EQ. What that means is that 80% of how we do in life are skills that are soft skills. And those skills are not necessarily taught in schools. And what that means is that if you don't learn them at home or at school, you probably don't learn them at all. But the good news is that as parents and your first teacher, you have the opportunity to introduce and incorporate these strategies into your daily routines. So here are 3 strategies to unleash your child's potential. The first one is emotional intelligence. Do you know that EQ is a better predictor of success than your IQ or your SAT scores? And just think about this. A gifted child that rarely connects with others cannot come up with innovations. Think about a doctor that is not able to listen, or a software engineer that programs a software that nobody wants to buy. And there's the science behind it. Everything we feel, we hear, we touch travels through our body as electric signals until it gets to the base of the brain. And from there, it goes to the prefrontal cortex. But before it gets there, it must first travel to the place of the body, of the brain, that generates our emotions. And what that means is that we are wired to feel before we think. And we all know that emotions come and then behavior. But what if you would teach your child how to use their whole brain? That will allow you to first teach them how to understand their emotions and self-regulate, and then consider consequences and think before they act. And I know we've all been there. The days where the kids are fighting in the back of the car with arguments like, "She did it first, Mom." Or worse, when they do it in public and our toddler decides to throw a tantrum in the supermarket. And yes, I'm talking about the days where we have to bribe them in the supermarket. We've all been there. But how does an emotionally intelligent home look like? It will look like this. The next time your kids start fighting in the back of the car, you can remind them the importance of listening and communicating respectfully. And what do you do when your toddler throws a tantrum in the supermarket? You first make sure that to regulate yourself, go at eye level, and then remind them how to gain their composure back. Remember, self-regulation and understanding your own emotions is important because we are modeling our child's behavior. And that is the foundation to teach your child how other people feel. That is social awareness, the foundation for empathy and social responsibility. The second strategy is mindsets. Mindsets are the beliefs that we have about ourselves that influence how we think, how we act, and even how we feel. But mindset is also the difference between success and failure. The key to unlocking your child's great, persevering, and even success is the growth mindset, an idea first developed by Stanford professor Carol Dweck that teaches us that the brain can grow even when we face challenges. And that is great news because that means that our words have power. So how does a growth mindset home looks like? Well, when your child comes back from school and says, "This was too difficult," you can teach your child to use words such as, "This was hard, but challenges make me grow my brain." Or what happens when your child comes home and says, "I failed?" Well, you can use the power of your words to encourage your child to reframe that experience and try it again. As a school family, we build a lot of routines based on the growth mindset to keep each other accountable. For example, when somebody makes a mistake in our school, everybody else sings to a song. Mistakes help us grow our brain. And then the third strategy is the maker mindset. The biggest gift you can give your child is to empower them how to learn. Have you thought about all the wrong answers we have given children over the years to questions such as, where do babies come from? Or where did dinosaurs go? Well, as a parent, I know I have. And I also know that we all have go-to answers. Like, go ask your dad. But the next time you feel tempted to give the wrong answer to a question, just think about it. You can turn this around. And the next time your child comes with a question, you can say, that is very interesting. Why don't we write this in our family question board? And then from there, you can both start an investigation, like reading a book or conducting an experiment. But when you actually take it to the next level is when you make something with your hands. Just think about this. Do you remember the first thing you made with your own hands? Was it maybe like a sandcastle or a Lego city? Making things makes it memorable. Maker-centered learning is an idea developed by Project Zero at Harvard University that teaches us that we can empower children to become agents of change and become innovators by introducing what they call habits of the mind, a set of questions. So how does it look like in a home? Well, for example, your child comes back home and he's interested about learning about how to build a house. Well, you will start by writing the question and then read a book about how to build a home. But when you take it to the next level is when you ask your child to sketch a design and then create a prototype, maybe with card boxes. But let's say you introduce a thinking routine such as looking closely to find an opportunity to make it better. So you would ask your child to compare the design with a prototype and look at an opportunity to make it better. Let's say the kitchen is missing. These routines help us learn that everything can be improved. The truth is that our current students will enter a workforce where change will be the new normal. And they will have to be independent, self-directed, and very original. But you don't have to worry. Your child is already an innovator. You just have to equip your child with the tools to learn how to think, how to learn, and what to say. By doing this, you will be preparing your child for the future of work. And you will be giving your child the gift of the innovation advantage. Thank you so much.